Hello, and welcome to the Three Questions podcast, where we dive deep into the world of wealth management and connect you with industry experts. I'm your host, Wayne Baxter, Senior Executive Manager at One Capital Management. Are you starting a new business or just looking to enhance your business social media exposure? Well, you're definitely not alone. Stay tuned, we've got you covered. Our topic this week, the three questions business owners should ask before spending money on social media. Thank you for taking time to check us out. And if you enjoy this episode of the Three Questions podcast, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our podcast and YouTube channels. Now, I've been spending quite a bit of time in Miami lately, and I've met a lot of amazing people. And one of those amazing people is Paula Romo. She is the co-founder and CEO of Leadsmith. Who's Leadsmith? Leadsmith is a digital marketing agency that specializes in helping business owners and entrepreneurs grow their business through strategic paid advertising on social media platforms like, and you've heard of them before, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Now, since launching in 2012, Leadsmith has managed millions of dollars in ad spend and have developed a proven track record of delivering real results for their clients. So who better to have on the podcast to discuss the three questions business owners should ask before spending money on social media? Well, joining me here is Paula Romo. Paula, great to see you. Thank you for making time to join us today on the podcast.
Absolutely. Wayne, thank you so much for letting me come and speak on your amazing podcast.
Well,
I've been following you.
we had a great conversation a while back while I was in Miami, and I said, this is somebody I got to have on my podcast for sure. So, I got questions galore. I know we are the three questions, but I know based on our conversations up and now, I'm going to probably have some more questions. But before we even get to that, why don't we take just a couple minutes for you to tell our audience about Leadsmith?
Absolutely. Wonderful. So look, Leadsmith Digital Marketing. We've been around since 2012 and really, we are an agency, we're a boutique agency, and we're specialized in paid social media advertising. Okay. But you may have heard that before for others. But how we specialize and what makes us very unique is that, we're focused on small to mid-sized companies, but our emphasis is really on the return on ad spend and measurable results. So it's a husband and wife team. My husband and I, we started this program. We started the company. We bootstrapped it. We're here, but both of us used to have a corporate life previously. We both have MBAs, and so we very much understand marketing as an investment. Like, we don't see it as like it's a nice to have. You have to see it as you're going to be investing this for the growth of your business, which is why return on it, like an ROI and what are the results, is what's so critical and key to us. We're extremely data-driven approached. We focus on small business, mid-size, lower mid-cap type organizations. And we have an expertise on multi-platform advertising, as you had mentioned before, Facebook, Google search, YouTube, all those kinds of things. So that's what makes us a bit unique.
I want to get your thoughts on what I see, and this is from my perspective, the difference between lead generation, I'll call it B2C marketing, business to client, really which is your expertise, and what I call B2B marketing. Now, in my perspective, with B2C marketing, your client is going to use that paid social media ads, again, Facebook, Instagram, and so on, to attract and convert individuals. Whereas most of my referrals are B2B. They come from either financial advisors, CPAs, estate planning attorneys, and if you wanted to add immigration attorneys, maybe a real estate professional to the list, that's fine. So B2C relies on heavily, I would say, and you can confirm, on these digital touch points to scale leads beyond personal networks like I referred to. Now, my colleagues really, what they do is they give me an endorsement that signals credibility. So is my perception accurate, first of all? And secondly, is there an intersection between the two?
Well, first of all, yeah, I think you're definitely spot on in the sense that just like you're saying, B2C, you're going ultimately to that and consumer. And in the B2B, you're leveraging that referral, that kind of trust that you've been building through your centers of influence, through your referral partners, right? Having said that, there's still a really important overlap, right? And what it is that at the end of it, the B2B buyers, whoever your end referral is, right? They're still individuals, right? And they still spend time on social media. They
No doubt
still
about that.
LinkedIn. They're still, perusing things on your websites. And so paid social media, for example, or anything that you want to think of as B2C, right, is helping you build awareness, reinforce the credibility and also nurture those leads. For example, you may have had a really good referral come your way. It's a good lead, but maybe they're not ready to close at this time. You could always continue to stay top of mind by sharing some really interesting content, like the kind that you're doing right now with your podcast. And they're later like, okay, now I'm ready to make that decision. It helped them kind of continue that buyer journey and ultimately wind up selecting you as their provider.
So in theory, you would say that the podcast that we have and the website that we have that connected to that is a form of B2C marketing then.
Yeah, of course, because at the end of it, you have a presence, you exist. Like I said, yes, of course, there are like these different avenues, but you exist to the end person who is that consumer, and they're listening to your podcast. They're looking at what you're posting
I'm
on LinkedIn.
hoping. Thanks for that vote of confidence. Now I know you do a lot
You're
of
building
B2C
trust.
marketing. Yeah, you do a lot of B2C marketing with attorneys, right? I'm
Correct.
currently, right now, literally, as we speak, working with a Canadian that's looking to move to South Florida and is actually looking to open up a yoga studio franchise. So I'm just curious. I thought, what the heck, we should bring this up. Is promoting yoga studios within your bandwidth, or is that kind of not there for you?
No, for sure, absolutely. So although I would say we have like let's call it a few verticals that we work with. One is in the legal space because we see that as it's a very successful B2C channel. But another one that for us works very well is anything that's in the health, wellness, think med spas, doctors, yoga studio. You're staying into that world, right? So
Interesting.
definitely we have worked with that kind of space and the fact that they're a franchise. Franchises have their unique particularities. We've worked with multiple franchises, and so it's always good to understand what you can and cannot do, what the franchise can give you, what they won't. So yeah, and the fact that they're Canadian, there's not an issue. We work with
That was
companies.
actually going to be my next question. We have
Sorry
a
about
lot of listeners.
that.
We have a lot of listeners in Canada. So you are a couple of things. Are you able to work? You could work with Canadian businesses who are looking to attract clients here in the US, first of all. But what about someone who is in Canada that has no intention of, crossing the border per se? Could you work with a Canadian client just because they wanted help with,
Absolutely.
marketing?
I mean, I would say we our kind of our primary market is within the United States, but we have clients in Europe. We've worked with Latin America, where the sale is in Latin America, the focus is within Latin America, for example, or within Europe. So yes, Canada, not a problem. Love it. There are neighbors to the north.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Paula, we're going to be addressing the three questions business owners should ask before spending money on social media. Let's get right to it. Our first question, how do I know if social media makes sense for my business right now? Your
Uh,
thoughts on that?
this is a great question, and we have like we call it a checklist, and these are the kinds of things that we do when we'll have a discovery call or if somebody just has questions for us, right? The very first thing is, do you have a product that sells? Because lots of people have wonderful ideas and wonderful products, but there may not be a market for that product. That's just a reality, right? So you have to be able to say, yes, I've been able to sell this more so than just friends and families. That's actually a really important point. And if you have been able to sell it, I mean, ideally, it's like at least 500 units previous to doing it. Let's say it's an e-commerce site or something. You know that there is a market. There's
It's
no
interesting
question
how you
somebody.
quantified it out. I don't think anybody's ever done that. So you kind of put a demarcation line. If you can sell 500 units, whatever your property is, that's a sign. It doesn't have to be 10,000 or 20,000. At least a starting point. You got to at least be able to sell 500 of whatever it is the product you're.
you have to, like I said,
See a scale of
you
some
got
kind.
it's the paid side is really going to help you scale. It's going to help you find more of the people that you know are buying, but you just need to find more of them, right? So that's the very first step. Do you have a product that people are willing to pay for? You know, there's a market, they've paid for it. If you have that, like I said, checklist. So check one. The other thing is, do you have a way to handle incoming leads? So funny enough, we've encountered many times that we'll bring you leads because our job is to bring qualified
But can
leads.
you service those leads?
Can you service them? What happens if the phone rings? Do you have a process? Does somebody pick it up? Is there a form? Okay, who answers the form? Will there be a callback? Is there a follow-up? And
Interesting.
it's a great problem to have, but it's definitely a problem. And until you have that cleared up, because if you don't, we will tell you, and like I said, we've encountered this before. It's like you need to come back to us when you're ready for this, because if not, you're throwing away your money. Like, we're bringing you qualified leads, but you're not able to close them, and that's not going to make you happy. And you're going to think that the results of
Because
the
bad news spreads 10 times faster than good news, as we all know, right?
then the next thing, so you've had those two things, that's great. Now you need to be able to, okay, so the beauty of this platform, which is what I always say, it's like 50 years ago, is if you tried to do advertising, it's a whole nother ball game, and so few companies were able to do that. You have to be able to test and optimize the message. Like, you have your product, are you gonna talk about that product in front of a specific audience, right? You have to figure out who those audiences are. Initially, you might have, this product works really well for this type of audience, but it also might work really well for this type of audience, right? But it has a different message, right? So you need to be able to constantly test that. And also, there's a creative involved. Like, this image worked well with audience A, and the message worked well with audience A, but it didn't for audience B, so I need a different message. So that requires testing and optimization, which means you have to be able to have the financial wherewithal to stay with this program for at least 3 to 6 months. Like, we tell people, you can make 3x, 4x amount of your investment, but it's not going to happen in 1 month. It's just
It
because
isn't a matter of testing something out for a couple of weeks and coming to a conclusion, because there's going to be a period at the front where they're just going to have to
right.
try different sort of.
Exactly, exactly. And like I said, so when we go through this checklist, we're telling them, like, look, we see these concerns, maybe come back, and we give suggestions, and we'll definitely talk about that in another section. But the last thing I would say is, so these platforms rely heavily on video. It's all video ad. You need to be able to create really meaningful, interesting, engaging content, right? So you have to be able to invest in that, in the development of that content, or you have to be able to make it yourself. So some people are incredibly creative and they can do that. Others may not, and so you need to think about, okay, that's a cost that's associated to this effort.
So, okay, this leads to another question. So let's make a couple of assumptions here. Assumption number one, there's a product that more than 500 people want.
Yeah,
And
keep in
number
mind,
two,
it can be a little bit less
I
depending.
get that, but you get the idea. I love the way you kind of put that out there. So
Yeah,
there is a product that more than mom, dad, uncle, aunts, and friends want. This is something that there's interest in it. So we know that, and they actually have the infrastructure to be able to receive, requests so they can sell the product. So beyond that, what are the biggest signs to you that, based on your experience, that a business isn't ready for social media ads yet? And then once we know that, what should they do to fix that before they jump in?
sure. So a little bit of the same things. Like, if you haven't validated that product, and you're starting with it and you like the idea, you can use paid advertising as sort of a market research tool.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, it can, if you think about it, it can be cheaper to do that than to invest in an actual company and shell out a lot of money. but I don't know if everybody will think about it that way. And I'm happy to have another discussion and another podcast on those levels of detail. But the very first thing is it's got to be validated that the product and the pricing is there. You don't have that sales process. These are things you're going to have to go back to and really say, okay, we're ready. Yes, we know what to do when a lead comes in, right? And the other piece that's going to be missing, now this is a really like technical thing, but you want to know where your effort is coming from because this is testing. So we need feedback. And you have to have, it's called the conversion tracking. All of those things have to be in place to say, oh, well, I got leads coming from Facebook ads. I got leads coming from YouTube. I got maybe there was like a mailer that you did and you put a specific phone number on it. Like there are different things and there's so much technology out there to be able to really track it, but you have to have those pieces in place. So if you don't have those things, and you're just trying to figure out, I mean, honestly, the beauty is that you have organic social in you have this amazing tool which is called organic social, where it's really you don't have money, you have time, right? And you can start doing a lot of this work yourself and start doing this testing by yourself before you're really, spending any money. It's taking you time.
Well, Paula, we survived the first question. Well done, and thank you for the insight. Let's move right on to question number 2. And that is, what are the, and I'll put in quotes, digital assets I need to get started? Again, this is for a business owner who's looking to utilize social media. What digital assets should they use to get started?
So the first thing is, you should have an Instagram and a Facebook profile. You just start it. Keep in mind it's your Facebook, like you'll have Wayne's, but then you also have your company's page. So same person, for example, this yoga franchise, they'll have their person as an individual, but they also have their company. So start creating a Facebook and Instagram profile, right? Have a functioning website, something, and it doesn't have to be super elaborate, but it could be a landing page, which is like a one pager that just talks about what it is I do, what are my services, and a call to action like call me or talk to me or book an appointment in some way.
Sure.
So you don't, because building a website is a very time consuming effort. You gotta have a lot of thought to that process and it can take time to get there. So landing pages are fabulous and it's good enough to start, right? So that would be another piece that definitely you have to put in place. If in the case of your yoga franchise, one of the great things about the franchise is that they may come with a lot of those assets already in place. So you may be able to use what's already there. Put in the Google Analytics tracking. And this is what I was talking about, those like that technology and meta tracking, because what's going to happen is I don't want to get super technical, but you're going to build audiences based on this. Facebook or things out there in the world are going to start to say, oh, these people went to see Wayne's website. So I want to show this ad to more people that are kind of like the people who went to go see Wayne's website. So that's why those trackings really have to be in place. And you could start that without having spent a single dollar, right?
And I was going to just say that you could add that Google Analytics without doing any advertising whatsoever, just to
No, no,
start.
no. It's free. It's free. There are other tools out there that do, website analytics and things like that, but Google Analytics, it's great. It's free. If you don't know how to do it, honestly, you can go on YouTube and there will be so many really, really easy explanation type videos that you can watch and set it up. So again, all of the stuff that I'm telling you, you're doing it at a very, if not free, a very low cost, right? And then, start, like I said, organic social is this incredibly powerful tool. You have a yoga studio. Okay, well, you have a phone. Go to your yoga studio, take a video of the class that you're sharing. Take a video of the facility. Why is it so beautiful? Why is it so harmonious? Why would I want to come here after work, like to relieve stress? Start talking, start creating and start doing it at least once a day. Start building that content because then people will start interacting with you. And that's a great way for you to start testing and figuring out, oh, well, okay, of all the people I live in Aventura, right? Here in South Florida. here are the folks of everybody that are constantly kind of responding to my posts, and they all happen to be moms. Okay, so maybe my content should be a little bit more about moms and like how I can support them. Or maybe it's, for other folks who maybe it's an older group and they want Pilates as well, and that's offered. You need to get that feedback, which by the way is the same thing that any business does to get those kind of feedbacks to understand your product offering. And through that iterative process of getting feedback, of being there, you're going to build a following. You're going to be able to clear your message and create a really a clear brand that you're going to keep growing over and over time.
I guess I think before we go on to question number three, I can't help but think about I'm a bear for systemization. So, like from a standpoint, if you're a business owner, how do you prioritize which digital assets to start with? To get the maximum ad impact. Is there sort of a hierarchy, or
Yeah.
how do you?
Okay. So which digital assets like should I prioritize
Right.
that's really going to help you kind of have a maximum impact? I would say first thing, like I said, we need to be able to have this website. You need to be able to because where are you driving people? You're driving them somewhere, right? So being able to
So the
have that website
website's number one for sure. That's a
with the
given.
tracking in place, right? Make sure all that stuff is there because, like I said, you're going to be using that to build audiences, right? Make sure you have those Facebook and Instagram or YouTube pages because you're also building an audience. How many people went to my
Do you have a preference between the three? That was kind of where I was going with this.
No, I mean I would say because I mean they're very quick and easy to build. So you should be able to do that like in a day, honestly. It's very, very simple. But the third thing, which I guess is the heaviest lift, but the most important, is start creating this content. Start doing it every day. I mean,
Interesting.
why? If you're a yoga studio, you have so much to share. Like Monday's classes are hot yoga, Bikram, blah blah blah. You have so much to talk about every single day, and it's great. And then go out. You could create yourself easily a mailer. Go to events, like for example, go to PTA events, and then that's where you're saying, hey, we're a new location. Come check us out. Come see what's going on. And then you start this tracking process. You're starting to figure out who wants my product.
Well, I'll tell you, one thing I would say, as far as just in this particular example, you can't think of a better place to start than in South Florida with the way the population is growing in that part of the world. I mean, it's pretty savvy move from just a logistics perspective and opportunity perspective. Hey, Paul, let's go right on to our third question here. Again, Paula Romo is joining us. She's founder and CEO of Lead Smith, and she's been a great guest. Okay, question number three, and this is, of course, invariably going to be one of the first three questions. Question number three: how much money should I expect to spend over the next 12 months? I'm sure that is if that's not question three, it's two or one. So interested to see how you would address this.
Absolutely. So, okay, so I will say for sure, paid advertising is not inexpensive. It's definitely you should think of it as an investment. You should think of it as I expect to get a 3x return on my investment because if not, why do it, right? Um, Organic social can also be expensive, by the way, if you hire someone to do it as well. But if you're doing it solo, it's a great place to start. Now, I would say you should think there's kind of two components to it. I would think in general for how much you're going to spend on ads and its management, you should think about $100 a day. That's where you should start. And the additional piece is the creation of content because this is all video ads. You really have to build these video assets. I have to have a bankruptcy lawyer speaking and I have to create a specific script. I have to create a sequence. It's all video, right? So there's a cost to that. And that's a bit of a wild card because we could have, a conversation sort of like this, and we can build ads just with this kind of video. That's a lot less expensive. Or you could hire an actor and, and like go and have like a photo shoot one day. So that's where things can become way more expensive, right? So I would say start with about $100 a day just for like the ads and the management side of the equation. That'll push you around 3,600 a year. Okay. It's like think about it, it's like 3 grand a month. Just have a thought. And then the creative. So the creative, like I said, will get a little bit, will vary depending on what you're trying to do. In paid, you can definitely kind of get away with just doing one video shoot, let's call it every quarter, maybe every 4 months, because you're slicing up a lot of this video content and you're creating small like snippets that you're using over and over again. But
But you have to
that's
make it fresh, so which is the point of it.
right.
You
Can't
just
you
can't,
can't stay
it's not a
forever.
one and done, because I mean, you gotta evolve. So like you said, you probably have to create like be above and what you were talking about, the daily, quite frankly, maybe just using your phone and doing videos, but the actual creative is probably something you have to do at least, like you said,
Right,
if
because
not
it has
every
to,
quarter, every 4 months, you're going to have to create new content.
correct. And I would think on the low end, you're probably thinking about like $2,000 for each of those photo shoots. Like on the low end, on the high end, it's like the sky's the limit. It really depends on the client's appetite and what they're willing to do. So for us, and this is why where we kind of like our sweet spot or where we focus on is on companies that are around they're about like 1.5 million in revenue, annualized revenues, right? Because that's about 3% of your revenues is what you're going to be investing in your marketing, right? And that should think about it. If you're going to be spending, I don't know, close to like 40,000, it's like 50,000, you're expecting to make 150,000 back. So that's got to work, right? That's what I'm saying. It's not for the faint. It's not that it's not for the faint at heart. You really have to have sold the product. I can take leads and convert them into sales. I have all of my tracking in place and I have the ability to stick with this for 3 to 6 months so that I can get to that 3x.
Right. And I think the key part you talked about is that with all of this is it's kind of like in my world of investing where you cannot determine an outcome over a short period of time. You have to be committed for the long term. So the way I see how you advise clients is, well, it may not, we talk in terms of, 5, 7, 10 years plus. You are still talking about, you cannot commit to something like this and conclude whether it was a failure or success. Really, I think the points that you gave, and again, you're the expert, not me, but this is like at least a year minimum period of time. That's just to get you out the door. These things take time. And I think the key part that you talked about that was really important was that testing at the front end, because it may be the first, I don't know, you would know better than me. The first few months is really going to be trial and error to find out what really works best. So you have to be patient and committed.
Yeah. Now, one of the great things is like you said, like let's say you already sold 500 units. There's a lot that you can extrapolate from that data because you can say, oh, look, these are all my clients. This is who's already bought from me. So there's a lot of commonalities around that we are able to say, oh, so this avatar fits this kind of specific profile, right? So that's why it's really great to not start with paid right away, but to like get to that point and say, okay, now I know there's a market. I just want to find a bigger market. That's
Exactly.
that's how you should think about paid. It's like I
So
want to put this up.
yeah, okay. So that kind of leads me to one more point I wanted to make, and that is like we've talked about, utilizing Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to
Mhm.
test out what works. Is there a smart way, to, I guess I'm going to use the word ad spend across those platforms I would say at least to test things out without overspending? Is there sort of a method or a system for that?
So I would say, first of all, start with one. Okay, don't spread yourself out across a lot of them because each of these platforms really require a certain amount of ad spend. So start with one, and then get really, really good at it. And when I say good, that means really efficient. Make the cost per lead.
Whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, pick one and perfect that before going across all three.
Now, we usually say kind of like it's just the easiest is that you go, really, it's meta. And the reason why it's because it's a bit of a 2-for-1. First of all, Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, they cover a very, very large swath of like types of people, right? And so that's a really great place to start. And the fact that you're using the same post per se, or the same elements of these ads to serve in all these different platforms, right? So that's why we tend to choose Facebook and Instagram, aka Meta, right, as our first choice, and then get really, really good at that. But that doesn't mean that, just again, it depends a little bit on the product and your target audience, that maybe YouTube was the best place to start for you because of that product. If that's the case, just start there. Maximize what you got to get out of it, get super efficient, get to a point where it's almost like, it's just not getting any better. You've reached kind of the optimization point, and then you're like, okay, now I want to grow more. I'm going to go into another platform. Of course, I have to make changes because the platform is a little bit different. So now there's a whole new strategy. But always start with one. Do not spread yourself out.
So if a business owner, maybe just before you wrap up here, but let's say a business owner might be a little hesitant to dive into the social media advertising. They're not convinced, maybe is the best way to put it. Could you share a success story from Leadsmith's work that shows the real impact that social media advertising can have? And from that point of view, what was the first step these people should take to get started with some kind of level of confidence?
Sure. So, I mean, I love to talk about this one only because we have quite a few success stories, but one that, I have to say I tout a lot because I just love to see how effective it was. We started to work with a bankruptcy lawyer here in South Florida. When we started, his cost per lead was $222. Now, a bankruptcy lawyer makes more than $222 for the services they provide. So
Hopefully.
like, okay, I can live with that. That's a good margin for me. I can invest in that. Perfect. After a year of working with them, they're down to $29 a cost per lead. So
Hello.
that's a 90% discount, like reduction in the lead, because that's the testing part. That's the part that people don't get. Yes, it's expensive up here, but over time, you're testing, you're optimizing. Remember, this is a data game. There's creative, obviously, but at the end of it, this is a data game. And so we're testing what's the right message, what's the right audience, what's the right creative. And over time, you're able to get to that point. And that's what's so powerful about this tool.
That's really impressive. And what would be fun if we could come back maybe in a couple, 3 years or even sooner with an update on my Canadian friend who's looking to come down to South Florida, and we can do an update on the yoga studio. That would be cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I
Love that.
will be making that introduction just for the
See?
record. Okay, so for those who are watching us, they can obviously, we have all your contact information right on the screen here. They can see it. But we have a lot of people that are listening on Instagram, pardon me, on Apple, on Spotify. They're driving around in their cars. For those folks, if they want to learn more about using the expertise that you obviously have, Paula, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you? How can they contact you?
Sure. Honestly, the best way, just reach out via email. My email is paula@leadsmith.io. Check out our website, www.leadsmith.io. And I would love to talk with folks and, just continue to spread the word about how incredibly powerful it is. Honestly, it's such an amazing space, which is, why we've dedicated ourselves to work on this.
Paula, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us here on the Three Questions podcast. You're a great guest. It was a fun conversation, and I definitely look forward to keeping in touch with you as we move forward.
Absolutely, Wayne. Thank you again so much for um uh for bringing me onto the show. I've been following your stuff for a while, so I'm really excited about what this is going to turn out. I can't wait to share it with friends, families, and some more on
You
this
got it.
podcast. And I tell everyone about what amazing work Wayne does as well.
Well, listen, again, thanks a lot. Paula Romo joined us from beautiful Miami, Florida. She is the co-founder and CEO of Leadsmith. Thank you very much, Paula. Take care.
Bye.
I look forward to bringing you the Three Questions podcast, and I hope you find them educational and informative. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to our podcast and YouTube channels. And to receive a notification of when our latest episode has been posted, please click on the notifications bell. Lastly, to schedule an online consultation with me to discuss your wealth management needs, please click on the link in the description box below, www.onecapital.com/meet with Wayne. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.